Let me start sharing my screen here. I'm straight into Portainer, and today we will learn something very, very interesting. Is the deployment of applications with Portainer, right? Um, Specifically Kubernetes. But if there's time, I'll also show a little bit of Docker. But let's go. We now have a concept of zero to hero, meaning the several ways of deploying Kubernetes, applications in Kubernetes via Portainer, meaning, and that goes from, and that gives power to users with very little or zero knowledge of Kubernetes, so that simply do not want to learn Kubernetes, don't need to learn Kubernetes, up to the advanced user that needs more control, needs to deploy more complex stacks and applications in its in his Kubernetes environment. So I'm going to show you how this works with Portainer, and I'm going to start with the zero, meaning let's say I'm a user with very limited knowledge of Kubernetes or none, and I need to deploy a database, right? With Portainer, it's very simple. Basically, given that Portainer is a multi-user platform and someone is the admin of the Portainer instance, this user simply needs to ask this admin that he needs to deploy a database, right? So what did the admin do? The admin went into the Kubernetes environment and set up a custom template. Okay, Nazar, yes, I see you raised your hand. Please, how can I help you? Go ahead. Do you want to share it on chat here or Q&A? Oh, you misclicked, no problem. Right, so, and what is this template? This template is basically a YAML manifest of the deployment of the MySQL database, right? And it's set up as a custom template. And this custom template can be assigned to administrators or can be restricted to a set of users. Right, so let's go to users. Let's say I have a user here. Let's say user John, right? User John, I'm just gonna make sure he's with his right password here. I'm gonna update his password. Okay. And user John is the one that asked for the custom template, or basically he just said, look, I need to deploy a MySQL database. I'm a DB. I am not a Kubernetes guy. Sure, okay, no problem. So Adolfo, as an admin, creates a namespace called DB, which by the way is probably already running something. If it's not, let me see if it's already running. No, it's empty, right? And I'm going to, and this namespace I can limit in terms of resources. I'm not really going to go into resource management here. I'm going to really focus on the application deployment. So I created a namespace called DB, and I'm going to assign this namespace to John. Oh, John is already assigned to it. Perfect. Let me remove Peter. I don't want Peter with this. Okay. Now, one thing that I forgot, I started to mention, before doing that, I really would have had to add on the environment here, which is this Kubernetes cluster, I need to add John as a user. So John, the first step is add John as a user to the environment, and then give him access to the namespace. And here he is. All right. So let me out. I'm going to log in as John. Oops. The letter O on my keyboard is stuck. I don't know why. And here I have access to the Kubernetes environment as John user. I have access to the namespace DB. And I'm like, okay, I need to deploy my MySQL. Let's see if Adolfo already added the custom template. Oh, he didn't. Huh, what did Adolfo do wrong? I'll show you. And this is what's interesting about Portainer. It's extremely modular and flexible in terms of assigning resources, right? You see, I created a custom template, but it's not assigned to anyone. And it's actually restricted in terms of access. So I'm going to go to this custom, I'm going to go to this custom template. I'm going to edit it, and I'm going to assign it to someone. It could be a team, like the dev team, or it could be to a specific user. In this case, John is the one that's going to use this namespace. It's his, and he's the one who's going to deploy this database. So I've assigned this specific custom template to a given user. The other interesting thing about Portainer is that the user definition, you don't need to do it for every single Kubernetes cluster. It's done in Portainer, and you assign or reassign resources, namespaces, templates, whatever you need to assign to a user dynamically. All right, let's log in as John again, and let's see, okay, did Adolfo do his job? Let's go back to the Kubernetes environment. Go to custom templates. Aha, there you go. So now John, user John, can deploy an application. You can just click here. The namespace is already defined. He can only see his namespace. That's created for him, DB. I'm going to call it DB78, just to give it a name. And all I have to do is click on deploy. That's it. You've just seen the first method of deploying an application with Portainer for a user with practically zero knowledge of Kubernetes or orchestration or containers for that matter. All he needs is to have his database deployed. Let's see if it's already up and running. And there you go. It's replicated. Let's check the logs. I'm going to go down to the logs. I can see it's up and running nicely. And I can even access as a user a console of the, it's probably running on Bash, of this application, where I can have direct access to the application via Portainer. I know that the password of this database is probably DB1234, and there you go. It didn't take me a minute or two to do this. Once I have the custom template defined, obviously the image was already cached on my cluster, but even so, it's just a matter of downloading the image and having this deployment done. And with repetition, obviously a custom template allows that. It's as easy as, you know, just clicking a button. At any point in time, if John doesn't need this anymore, all he has to do is to just delete his MySQL instance and redeploy it however he needs fit. And this can go, you know, he can have as many custom templates as you can saw, it can be assigned to a given user or to a team, or it could be to the entire set of users in this Portainer instance. Okay, so we saw the first method of deployment of an application with Portainer. Okay, let me go and show the next. And now I'm going, let me bring up very quickly here, wait, hold on. Let me see if I have it so you can see where this concept comes from. Yes. Right. Yes. So this is sort of the process. And we started here with zero, right? A zero user, what will he use? A custom template. Now let's jump to the intermediate. We are calling intermediate. Why intermediate? Because the intermediate user has some concept, in our view, of Kubernetes and has enough knowledge to understand containers, and therefore can make use of Helm charts, for instance. Yes, sorry, Kenneth, did you just raise your hand? Someone raised hand. What was that? His hand. Participants, let's see. Okay, sorry, someone raised their hand. Let's see who it was. Oh, myself, and Kenneth. Okay, yes, Kenneth, do you have a question? Would you like to join? I'm going to allow you to talk. Okay, if you want to talk, you can talk, or you can type. What do you prefer? Just want to type, it's also fine. Okay, well, Kenneth, in the meantime, I'll continue until you. Oh, there you are. Now we can hear you. Thank you.
And the lady promotes that party. You can move around and Eastern.
Hello?
And Western.
Kenneth, I cannot understand you. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to mute you. Can you, may you can also show how to add Kubernetes environments to Portainer? Right. Okay. Kenneth, I can. It's not necessarily the scope of this Portainer. If I have some time, I'll definitely show how to add an environment. It's extremely easy, right? But let me continue with the flow. Poke me if I forget. I'll show you. It's not hard at all. It's extremely easy how to add environments. Right. So let me go to the next level here, intermediate. And thank you for your question. Sorry, it was Andreas who asked that, right? Sorry, Andreas. I thought it was Kenneth. Yes. Let me just go to the next intermediate level, and I'll show you how to add environments. It's extremely easy. Right. So what do we support now? Now we're supporting several features in terms of Kubernetes with Portainer, and one of them is Helm charts. So you can add repositories, any other repository that you want. We brought in the default Bitnami, not default, but well-known Bitnami. Oh, sorry, Jeremy. Sorry that you have to go. This, look, just for you to know, this is being recorded, and it'll be put on YouTube, in our YouTube channel for you to, if you want to check it out later, you'll feel free to check our video later on. Thank you very much, Jeremy. Well, let me add this repository here. Yes. Charts. Oh, for some reason, sorry, it's not showing the Helm. Oh, interesting. Sorry for this. It should show. This is like a global repository that I can set in Portainer in the settings, or I can go to Helm, and it should have all the repositories showing here. It's still loading. It can take a few minutes. Anyway, we now support Helm charts. It's a matter of selecting an application and deploying the application, just like if some, just like you deploy an app in your cell phone. It's extremely easy. Let's see if I can bring engines, for instance. Sorry, guys, for something. Actually, I think this is a network problem I've been having with my ISP that it's been blocking some things. But what you would usually see here, let me bring in another. It's easy to fix. .io. I want you guys to see this functionality. I'm bringing up a new Portainer instance. This is our live Portainer demo instance. So if I go to this Kubernetes instance and click on Helm, it should bring up the applications in the Helm chart. And it's just a matter of clicking on the application and deploying the application. It's as simple as that. So let's say I want to deploy Apache or Apache. And when I say intermediate, I'll show you what I mean. Okay, it's loading the values of the Apache of this Helm chart, and I know that port 80, for instance, is not available. So I can look for port here, the port definition. Let's see, what could that be? Host. Find that port HTTP. I'm going to put call it Apache. I shouldn't be putting it on the default namespace. I'll delete it later. It's because I didn't define a namespace for this. Usually what you should do is define a namespace for this. I'm just going to do it for the sake of time. And click on install. And that's it. That's a second, slightly more advanced way of deploying an application with Portainer in Kubernetes via Helm charts, and it's been successfully installed. And I can check the progress of this deployment right here. Just click on the application, and I will see how this progresses accordingly. So again, not hard at all. Absolutely, actually, it's very easy and straightforward. And soon enough, it's going to have this replicated and up and running. Right, so we saw 0, custom templates. Intermediate, he could make use of custom templates, obviously, and he can also use Helm charts. Now let's go to skilled. Why skilled? What's the difference between intermediate and skilled? Again, intermediate has a good concept of containers, but is not necessarily so well versed in the Kubernetes world, if you may. So the skilled user has a better concept of namespaces, of storage, of networking, etc. Right. So let's say the skilled user, Adolfo, in this case, let's say he wants to set up a engine server. So let's call this web. He's going to create a new namespace. He can add a private registry if he wants. And he can create this namespace here. Now he wants to deploy an application. What can he use? He can use what we call the application deployment form. The interesting thing of the application deployment form, and this is the option add application form, is that with one single form, I can do everything that I need to deploy this application, right? I don't need to have multiple interactions of, like usually you would do with YAML files, one just to define our service, the exposure, the networking, the storage. No, you can have, or if you want to write one single YAML file, which is also possible, but quite hard. You don't need to do this here. I basically define the namespace that I want, call it web server. I define the image, Nginx. I don't need any environment variables. In this case, I can or cannot persist. If I want to add a specific configuration, I can config maps or sequence to this. Here I can define resources. I only want one instance. I don't need any auto-scaling for now. So you see, everything that I need to define a deployment of an application in Kubernetes is in one single form. There's one little detail I want to also mention after I finish this to you all. And here I can define networking. Publish port 80, or I can use a node port 80. Right, and that's it. So it's for the application. Again, I can check the status of this deployment at any point in time. I just click on the application name, click on events, and I can accompany how this deployment is working. So let's see how this Helm chart went. If it's replicated. And while we're deploying the Nginx engine, and yes, as you can see, I'm showing the previous deployment, the Helm chart deployment. It's up and running. It's got a load balancer. I'm still waiting for the provider to publish the IP address, but I know that the application has been successfully deployed. This is running, if I'm not mistaken, on DigitalOcean. So it's just a matter of DigitalOcean setting up the environment, the load balancer, and soon enough we'll see the IP address of this Helm chart deployment. Let's go back to our deployment 4. Let's see how that's going. Okay, so as we can see, Nginx has been successfully deployed. It's on a node port 380. Sorry, 380. Portainer.lab. Maybe because I didn't expose it properly. Let's see here. Oh, sorry. Oh, there's a question. Can Portainer use G Suite Alpha for users? Yes, it can. Yes, yes. So you know what? I'm going to show you quickly. I'll address the environments, and I'm going to also show you a little bit of authentication in the meantime. Right. So environments. How do I add an environment? And all you have to do is go to environments, add environment, and there are several options. If you're already running Portainer on that on a local environment, well, all you have to do is select local Kubernetes environment, give it a name, and click on add environment. But let's say you want to add an extra Kubernetes cluster. You would do it via the Portainer agent. So you have two methods, via load balancer or node port. You can select any of the two methods that is most convenient for you. You copy, you just click copy command, go to your Kubernetes cluster, paste this command, and it's going to deploy the Portainer agent. So what you need to know, well, you have to give it a name. So let's say I could call it Q2, for instance. I don't have a Kubernetes, an extra Kubernetes cluster up and running, but basically I would just add this command to this to the shell where I'd be running this Kubernetes cluster, so you can deploy the Portainer agent. Type in the IP address. Let's say it's 10, 10, 10, 10 column. And in the case of Kubernetes, you would use port 30778. And that's it. Click add environment. And there you go. You've just added a Kubernetes environment, an additional Kubernetes environment to your Portainer instance. So Andreas, that's how easy it is. It's extremely easy. I'll put here the documentation that shows how that can be done. And to the question of open authentication with Google, yes. So under settings here in Portainer, we have a specific item called authentication, and we have several authentication methods. The internal, which uses our the internal database and encrypted in the internal database called LDAP, custom or open LDAP, Microsoft AD, and in terms of open authentication, it can be with Microsoft, Google, or GitHub, or even a custom one if you have a custom authentication engine. Right, I hope that answers your question. Right, okay, so we've seen so far three methods: zero, intermediate, and skilled, using the application deployment flow. Now we're going to advanced, which is create from manifest. And what is that? Create from manifest is for advanced users that really need to have more control over their deployment. So let me just do a quick test here. Guys don't mind, just give me 2 seconds. Okay, so let's say I want to deploy again that MySQL database, but I want to have more control over my deployment. Right? It's not just a matter of going there and deploying that, however. So how can I do that? Right? Meaning, however, what I mean is with custom templates or with Helm charts or the form. I am a person that really needs more control. I really need to understand better this deployment, or in my case, let's say the form. Let's just I'm going to delete this MySQL instance here. Okay. Right. So I go to applications, create from manifest. I go to DB again. I'm going to call it DB5 name. But now I can connect Portainer. I can integrate Portainer to a Git repository. It can be GitHub, it can be GitLabs. It's compatible with all the major Git compliant engines, and I can basically point to a deployment manifest here. So it's this? This is the name of the repository. This is the link to the repository that I said. It's on main, and this is the name of the file. If I need more files, or if I have more files to this deployment, I can add them here. If this is a private registry, a private repository, I can add authentication here. And here, and I can select automatic updates if I want to, for instance, change anything on this file, and in any given time, I need to change this file. Portainer is going to identify that change on the Git repository, and is going to automatically deploy the changes into this this namespace and Kubernetes cluster. And you can also use the webhook method, which is if, for instance, you have an integration with an external tool that can trigger this, you can do that very easily by just providing this link to whatever external tool that you have to be able to do this deployment. So why is this more advanced? Well, obviously because we're talking about excuse me, working directly with manifest files, right? So here I have on my Git repository, as you can see, this manifest file with the deployment that I'm working on. It's one big YAML manifest to deploy this MySQL database. So it's definitely more advanced, and it's got the added, let's say, ability to deploy with an integration. We also have the option of doing this deployment directly on a web editor if you want, or if you have this file stored somewhere in a URL directly if you want, or if you want to use a custom template, right, as we showed before. But this is for the user that has not so much ability, doesn't have that knowledge of Kubernetes as an advanced user. So basically for the advanced user, we're talking about web editor and Git repository, right? The other interesting thing is that we not only support for Kubernetes the deployment via a YAML manifest, but also with a Docker Compose format. So if you have a Docker Compose format, and this is interesting for testing or even for migrating from Docker to Kubernetes, you can also use the same advanced feature with Docker Compose file. Okay, so all you have to do is fill in the form. If you have the authentication or not, select the automatic updates and click on deploy. And it should take some time. Drums rolling. Let's just hope it's a crash. See in the meantime if you have any questions. There's some questions. How's your YouTube? We're going to find the recording later. Right. Publish your YouTube channel. Sorry, I did something. I've been having some networking issues, guys. Sorry, for some reason my machine is not talking directly to the internet. Hey Michael, how are you? Good to see you around. Michael Cooper is our product engineer. He's joined us just recently. I think you're on mute, Michael.
It's closed on Thursdays. Ollie's Costco.
Oh, there you go. We heard something, and then yeah, sorry guys, I'm having some networking issues here. This is not a Portainer issue, it's a network issue. So much so that I'm going to try to do the same thing on an online instance. Space. The source assignment. Namespace. Applications. Manifest. I'll show you the link. DB name DB54. Manifest, here it is. Authentication, polling, all right, click on deploy. Ooh. Okay, this is now an issue with my YAML manifest. It's not an issue with unknown field cluster IPs. Right. So this is the interesting thing. As you can see, it is an advanced deployment, definitely, because it does require understanding what exactly that you're doing. So I would have to tweak this YAML manifest a little bit more to deploy this. Let me check if I have another one here. Michael, do you have a YAML manifest that we can show to deploy online?
I probably do. Hang on, let me look.
If you have one, it would be nice. I did test this one, but maybe I did something wrong with this. Oh, I've got this. Oh, I've got an easier one here. Let me check if this is going to work. Hold on. Okay, I'm going to change.
Did you find one?
Yeah, I found another one. This one's
Okay. All right.
a simpler version. I'm using a more complex version, but sometimes crashes. Okay. Okay, there you go. It was just a matter of using the right manifest. So as you can see, this is an advanced. I'll show you guys what I did. So I was using this manifest here, here, as you can see, highly complex. And the more complex the YAML manifest, obviously, the more prone to errors that you expose yourself to. So I just selected a simpler one. That's basically a simple definition of this deployment. And let's say that here it's deploying. Just to show you the polling functionality, how that works. That's already been replicated. Okay. So let's say I need to change something, right? Let's see. Is this one's pulled, right? Let me make sure it is. Yes, it's fetch interval 5 minutes. I'm going to leave it to 1 minute. Now I want to change something on this manifest. It's oh, sorry. It's, so if I change something on this manifest, given that Portainer is polling this repository, let's say I want to change the password. The value is 1234 pass. DB1234. And I want to, let's say, I think this is a good example. Let's go to the application. The password, as you can see here, shows 1234, right? So I'm going to edit this. I'm going to commit the change. And very soon, we will see that this will change. So it's going to be DB1234. It takes obviously a minute or less. 10 minute refresh. Let's see how that's going. So while this is happening, let's go back to our Portainer application deployment process from 0 to here. We saw 0, which is this user with very limited knowledge or zero, almost no knowledge of Kubernetes, deploying containers using custom templates. The intermediate user that managed to deploy containers using, you can obviously use a custom template or Helm charts, right? And you can even do some tweaking to the values.yaml file of that Helm chart to be able to deploy it accordingly, however he needs to. Then there's the skilled user that has better concepts of Kubernetes, so he knows how to define storage, how to define networking, but he doesn't necessarily know how to code, but you can use the application deployment form, right? And there's the advanced user that we just saw that deployed directly from a Git repository using a manifest. Okay, so this is how what we call the Portainer application deployment process from 0 to hero. And as you can see, it can contemplate pretty much every let's say knowledge in the spectrum, from again people with zero knowledge to the ones with very advanced skills and good knowledge of Kubernetes. Let's see if this hasn't changed. Takes some time. It's probably cached still. Very soon we're going to see that this is going to change. So this is the advanced deployment of Portainer, as you can see, the way that we can have more access to our deployment. We can redeploy this, and we look how interesting. From the most advanced deployment manner, we can create a template for those that just want, repeatability. After this works, let's say, oh, this is working. Now I'm going to make sure that I can create a custom template for this, because then I don't need to redeploy this from the Git repository. All I need to do is a custom template, or it can be used by someone that has absolutely no knowledge or very limited knowledge of Kubernetes, right? This is also something very interesting from this type of deployment. Right then, we have roughly 15 minutes, and I'd like to open for questions. Let's see, any questions? Let's see if there's another question here. Oh yes, the YouTube URL. Sorry. Let me bring this up. No. Okay. Let me put here. How to become an ambassador? Right, Nazar. That's
what I was just gonna say.
Do you know the process, Michael? I'm not very aware.
No, no, I do not.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what. Send me. I'll give you my email address, and you can shoot me an email. I'll leave it here for you guys to contact me if you want, and I'll check that for you. So, where's the chat?
Demko says he can.
Oh, Demko has access to it.
Yeah,
oh,
he has access to it.
Demko. So Demko is our DevOps guru here at Portainer. He's one of our other evangelists that also has tons of experience in DevOps and dev. Has been with us since what, like 3 months now, Demko, and he's been contributing so much, giving us amazing insights in the dev world and DevOps world.
I think Demko's been with you guys longer than I have.
No, Michael, you came before Demko.
I did?
Yeah,
Huh.
I'm sure you did.
All right.
Demko, I'm gonna put you in the spot. Keep your access for you.
Fair enough.
Where is Demko? Let's check participants. Sometimes I want to kill you. Aha, allowed to talk. There you go, Demko. The floor is yours, Demko.
Perfect. Thanks, sir. Hello, everybody. And on that ambassador program, quick note that let's just connect on the email. Anyone who's interested, and I'll send you up details on our application process, and let's just take it from there. So I just sent my email into the chat, and feel free to message me there. Also note on a whole program is what it does is enabling people who already love Portainer to be able to first spread their knowledge and love through the all of the channels that we have, and second is to work more closely with us on our product roadmap.
Yep.
It'd be very beneficial if you have any suggestions for us.
Yes.
And work closely with our cases of our customers, big customers who find Portainer extremely useful. I'd be also very happy to hear your feedback on their use cases. And if you have personally a use case for that, I'd be extremely happy to hear about that. And if that's something interesting, we would be happy to feature that on our social channels, etc.
I mean, Jenko, thank you very much. Yeah, so he's the man. We can talk to him about the becoming an ambassador, and it's an amazing program. I'm sure you, if you manage to join us as an ambassador, you're gonna just basically love it. Now let me ask you, Johnny.
There's a question from Johnny
Yeah,
Clark.
let me answer Johnny's question.
Okay, good. All right.
And I'm gonna answer this question using myself as an example, Johnny. When I joined Portainer, I had a good knowledge of Docker because of Portainer. I had zero knowledge of Kubernetes. I will confess, I had no clue how to use Kubernetes. But Neil Creswell, our CEO, the first mission he gave me was to make a video on Kubernetes, how to deploy Portainer on micro K8s. It's still there on YouTube. But by the way, I shared the link here to you guys here in the chat for you to take a look at it. That's our channel. And my first video was how to deploy Portainer on micro K8s. Like, oh my God. Now, interestingly enough, before even starting in the container world, I hated containers. I was like, I don't like this. This is just, oh, this is strange. Because I used to be old school, package manager, compile, deploy things on the machine, bare metal, etc. Even if using the cloud, that was pretty much how I used to do things, unless they were like obviously SaaS or PaaS concepts or environments I was working on. But then I finally had to do something that I really needed to use a container, and I discovered Portainer. And because of Portainer, today I can say I am almost here in the advanced level. And I'd say almost because I'm actually working on my certification and I hope to have it soon. But if it weren't for Portainer, I can very easily say I wouldn't have gotten to the point where I am today of being able to deploy an advanced, go to the advanced deployment of an application using Portainer. It wouldn't have been possible. So I strongly believe that Portainer can definitely help you on this learning curve of becoming a hero. And that's one of the things, amazing things about Portainer, in a much shorter amount of time, right? Than you would usually require if you go down the traditional path. Not that the traditional path is you should ignore, not at all, absolutely not. You should definitely use learn how to use Kubernetes. You should study, but that's one of the things about Portainer. It reduces that learning curve, and it reduces the requirement of teams to have to go through this long learning process of Kubernetes. You can reduce that considerably. So this is one of the cool things that Portainer provides to your learning experience. So yeah, I again, I put myself as an example and say that yes, you can go from 0 to hero with Portainer. Okay, more questions? Let's see. No, I think we just answer that. Okay. Any more questions, guys? We have 10 more minutes. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you very much. So I would definitely invite you to take a look at our channels, social channels. YouTube's got tons of stuff. We've got also the Portainer.io blog here that you can check with tons of stuff. Also, Neil Creswell, RCO, he regularly publishes amazing blogs, not only about Portainer, but about the container world and technology that are amazing. I adore his, I really like his articles. So that's a good source of information for you to learn how to use Portainer in any type of orchestration. Because I've got some time, I can also show how to do this in Docker. Yeah, because it's not just about Kubernetes, right? I mean, there's also Docker. Check it out. Okay.
Hey, Adolfo, don't forget we have the Slack and the Discord channel as well, where they can ask questions if they need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. On our website, you will see that there's a link. Let me open the website. So just, it's on the way. On our website, we'll see that there's community. You can click on community join, and there's all the channels that you can use to access us: Slack, LinkedIn, YouTube, as you can see, Twitter, Discord, Reddit, GitHub, and tons and tons of documentation that we have that will enable, for instance, in more detail, teach you how to use on both editions the, for instance, how to add a endpoint to an environment, right? So this is all the possibilities that you have in terms of Kubernetes, Docker, etc., etc. Now, there's one thing I want to mention, and this is very important before we finish. Two things, actually. One, I don't know if you noticed, I used zero code, right? Practically zero code. Only the advanced user really is going to use code, and this is where I pretty much tweaked something on my YAML manifest, but pretty much zero code. So this is very, very interesting about Portainer, that helps you to address complex deployments in a very intelligent and less cumbersome manner. And I invite you to take a look at also one of the videos that we have on YouTube, that is RBAC, traditional RBAC versus Portainer RBAC. And you'll understand what I'm trying to say. I mean, Kubernetes RBAC, for instance, is a nightmare. It's just a nightmare. It's terrible. I mean, you just watch the video and you'll see what I'm talking about. You go crazy. And the same thing happens, in my opinion, with anything in Kubernetes, right? If you want to deploy something, I mean, it's so easy to blow up your cluster if you don't know what you're doing. So this is one thing about Portainer. It's not just, oh, it's a nice GUI. No, it's a fail-safe way of deploying applications. It's just the smart way to do it, right? You're not going to break your system, and the likelihood of breaking your system is just because you might have, I don't know, some rogue image that is using too many resources. And even for that, we have mechanisms within Portainer that can help you protect your cluster by limiting the amount of resources that you're going to use to deploy your applications, isolating them in namespaces so you don't compete with the default namespace, which actually is a namespace that you should never use to deploy applications. So Portainer allows that. I know there's a lot of users that like to do things in the traditional way, which is absolutely fine. I mean, it's okay. But what Portainer provides is the same work with a safer way to deploy it, a faster way to deploy it, and with not necessarily having to know everything about Kubernetes to be able to deploy an application. Right? So that's the one thing I wanted to mention. The other thing I want to talk about is that now there is, and we like to put it this way, no excuse to not have access to the business edition of Portainer. Why is that? Just before that, let me see. Nazar's got a question. Does Portainer have an API? Can I run, for example, CS jobs?
I already answered
Yes.
that question.
Oh, you did? Okay, thank
Yep.
you. Thank you, Michael. There's no reason why you cannot have access to the business edition of Portainer. And you would ask, oh, what is the difference? Well, there's several things that are available in the business edition that you don't have in the community edition. For instance, full RBAC, right? With the possibility of assigning teams and roles to users and resources within Portainer. Registry browsing. So if you have a private registry, whatever registry you have defined in Portainer, you can use our registry browsing feature to actually manage images. You can actually do some simple management of images in your registries with Portainer. You can access these images and you can define tags. You can delete images that are stored in this registry, so on and so forth. Well, I probably configured it. What did I do? Oh, sorry, this registry is not. But basically, if you have a private registry here, you can browse them, and you can play around with your images, define tags, etc., as I had mentioned before. The whole resource management in a namespace with Portainer Business is something that is amazingly easy to do with Business Edition, right? So load balancing, storage balancing, like quotas, etc., etc. These are all features that are available in the Business Edition. Finally, with cluster setups, allow resource overcommit. This here is something that is only available for the Business Edition of Portainer. And when I say there's no excuse for you not to have access to that, is because we have now the 5 nodes free license. So if you go here into our main website and click on Get 5 Business Edition nodes free, and it's free for life, meaning yes, now you can have access to Business Edition and have that Business Edition of Portainer running on your first 5 nodes of, and it doesn't matter if it's a Docker or a Kubernetes node, it's now here available for the entire community. So please enroll into this, get your license, and use it so you can learn how to use Portainer Business with 5 nodes free from now onwards. Once the 3 years are gone, does add on renew? No. This is forever. Okay. Although it says someone honestly asked if the 3 years are done, does it automatically renew? It probably automatically renews because our commitment here is to have it free forever. It's free, it's forever. Okay. And then you can have access to all the features of Portainer Business. One node is one host, one node is one pod. No, okay. One node. So a host can have several nodes. Okay. It's a concept that you have to pretty much understand. A node is a computational entity that can run applications, whatever amount of applications you define, or Kubernetes will define for you in that given host. So 5 nodes. So this is, for instance, here. There you go. So let's go to home, Kubernetes, cluster. This is a node. Okay, I could have several nodes here. I have 1, but I could have 3. So if you have 5, you can use the Portainer 5 node free license forever on the amount of nodes that you have. If you have like 3 Kubernetes nodes and 2 Docker nodes, right? So each computational entity is a node, different from a host, right? A host, you can have actually, if you have Docker running in Docker or Kubernetes running in Docker, and in this Kubernetes running in Docker is defined with 10 nodes, right? Which is possible, that you can only have 5 nodes free for the first 5 nodes. Okay, so we're up in the hour. If there aren't any more questions, I'd like to thank you very much all for your participation. And I hope you enjoyed this Portainer. Please stay tuned for our next Portainer. David, do you know what's the theme again on the next Portainer? There's so many.
Exactly in a week from now. So
Yep.
would be
December the 1st at 11 a.m.
first of December, right?
Yes, perfect. Thank you. And with that, I'd like to say goodbye. Thank you very much. Hope to see you next week. I hope you enjoyed this Portainerd series. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye bye. Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you,
Dimko.
Adolfo. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Dimko.